And I also thank the Speaker. And I rise today in support of Con Res 63. And I'm a strong supporter of our servicemen and women and strongly committed to finding a reasonable and responsible resolution which includes a redeployment of our troops. However, a responsible resolution does not include the deployment of more of our brave servicemen and women to Iraq. 66% of Americans oppose the President's escalation plan to send additional troops to Iraq. They believe, as I do, without a new policy to secure the peace, stabilize Iraq, further escalation will do nothing but unnecessarily risk the lives of more U.S. servicemen and women. There are currently 135,000 U.S. troops courageously serving in Iraq. At the direction of our government, they left their fathers, mothers, brothers, and children and wives. This war is having, as you know, a significant impact on their families in our communities. In the district that I represent, the 32nd in California, we've lost 13 sons to combat. Note the photographs that I have here on display. This includes Lance Corporal Francisco Martinez from the city of Duarte in the San Gabriel Valley, who bravely served our country despite not even being a U.S. citizen. I was able to meet his parents. They were very humble individuals who spoke only Spanish and proudly stated that their son served their country with honor. It breaks my heart to think that this was only one service member, only one of the more than 3,000 families that have been through this since the war started almost 4 years ago. The past 3 months, as you know, have been the deadliest months in the war in over 2 years. While Latinos make up 12% of the U.S. population, they make up 17% of the servicemen and women in combat in Iraq, and 11% of those have already been killed. U.S. casualties are now more than 3,100, and more than 23,400 servicemen and women have been wounded in action. And nearly half of those wounded will not be able to lead a normal life because of severe injuries, permanent disabilities, and post-traumatic stress syndrome. Yet many of these servicemen and women will return to Iraq for a second, third, and maybe even a fourth tour. The President's proposal to escalate ignores the real needs of our troops and the grave reality of this situation. 3 times in the past 2 years, the number of U.S. troop levels have increased in Iraq. 3 times this approach has failed. And during Operation Together Forward, additional troops were sent into Baghdad because of an increase in sectarian violence. U.S. military spokesman General William Cadwell stated, and I quote, "The increase was a failure and had not met our overall expectations, sustaining a reduction in the level of violence," unquote. Even the commander of the U.S. Central Command in Iraq has testified that top military commanders in Iraq do not believe that increasing the number of troops is the right approach. He stated, and I quote, "I do not believe that more American troops right now is the solution to this problem. I believe that the troop levels need to stay where they are at. Increasing the number of U.S. troops is not a solution. The increase does nothing to improve long-term security and end sectarian violence. Our country needs a policy to secure and stabilize Iraq, and one that constructively engages in diplomacy and partners with our neighboring countries and the region to create a stable and peaceful nation, not a blank check to send more men and women into harm's way. We need a policy and a plan to put the welfare of our servicemen and women first so they can come home, rejoin their families, and receive the care they deserve. They should include adequate services for returning servicemen and women, including culturally competent care, mental health care for veterans, housing, and education. We need a plan to ensure that U.S. tax dollars are not going to war profiteering and fraud, such as the $1.4 billion that has been somehow charged by Halliburton. I strongly believe that this is possible, but it will require courage, cooperation, and leadership on the part of all my colleagues. Let me say to my colleagues that I support our troops and the war on terror. Unfortunately, the war in Iraq is not the war on terror. Mr. Speaker, I'll continue to support and protect our sons and daughters who are serving as these young men have served us so well. I will do so by voting for this resolution and by supporting their redeployment. Yield back the balance of my time.